Well, if I said it's really great to be here, I realise now that I will be repeating everything that everybody else had said. But that's also really encouraging to hear the words of, I think, every other speaker. That we are really on the same wavelength. We've got very much shared values, shared beliefs about how business should be done, how organisations should be run. And so really it's going to be an easy sell to this particular audience for me. But what I'm going to do to start with, I'm going to just reinforce a little bit about the university, Hull University, very quick, a little bit of detail there, a little bit about the business school, so you know who you what you're dealing with at the other end of this relationship, and then we get into the nitty-gritty of the programme itself. At the end, there's going to be an opportunity to ask questions, and I was Yogi earlier on, it was probably yesterday, said it's actually not really in the Finnish culture to put your hand up and ask questions. Well, you're not. The Finnish culture is no different to many other cultures in that respect. So what you'll need to well, you're very welcome to ask questions in traditional fashion, but if you've got a smartphone, at the end we've got a little tool that you can type up your questions. They'll appear on the screen, and I can pretend I know the answers to them when that happens. So first, just to reinforce a little bit about what Lynn said, we are the 14th oldest university in the UK. We've spent an enormous amount on our campus recently. I'm sure that figure is out of date, but 200 million on infrastructure, new library, new medical building, new sports facilities, student accommodation, a huge amount of investment in that physical learning resource, and we really do hope members of staff, as well as students, visitors on campus, and enjoy the facilities and environment we have to offer there. And research is an important part of the university. We, as far as possible, we encourage everybody to get involved, and we are really hopeful that we can collaborate on research with HAMC. Again, very much shared values, shared interests. And a really important international dimension to the university. I think perhaps one of the most international universities in the UK in terms of our focus and where we look for partnerships. We also have some people might think quite surprising partnerships. One of the, I think perhaps most surprising partners that we have is Team GP, the Olympic team, who very recently signed a contract with ourselves for us to be their university partner. And we're really proud of that. It again is leading to research opportunities and shared experiences that help Team GB as well as the university. But let's face it, the partnership that's most important to us at the moment is this one. And we're really proud to have yourselves, have HAMC, as our latest partner in education, and particularly the EMBA, which, let's face it, is my baby. It sits within the business school. The business school is around about 2,500 students, give or take. We have a number of MSCs, quite a significant number of EMBA students, and lots of PhD students. Vital part of the school, of the university, and an increasingly important part of the MBA is the alumni, and a massive global network of previous students that we welcome and are increasingly interacting with more regularly in the alumni. Not an insignificant number of staff within the business school, which is just part of the Faculty of Business Law and Politics. Plenty of support. Jill and Donna are the two MBA dedicated support service staff. Hopefully I know they're very keen to come and meet you. I hope you'll meet them also over here. And lots of successful partnerships around the world. So a little bit now, let's get to the nitty-gritty. The MBA itself, the EMBA, Executive MBA, double accredited. The amber mark of quality is held by only 200, I think it's about 245 MBAs around the world, which means we're in the top 10% of MBAs globally. Business school-wise, that puts us in the top 2% of business schools around the world. We also hold the AACSB accreditation, which is a school-level accreditation, again, a mark of quality. So we're very proud of the academic standard and the quality of the program that we're able to share with you. And within that program, we have had a lot of experience. Hull was one of the first business schools in the world to start and deliver MBAs over 30 years ago. And although competition has increased a great deal, with our new program, we've found ourselves able to begin and expand significantly again. We're currently operating in 2 cohorts in Hull. We have a very successful cohort in Romania. And there's a prize for anybody that can spot the rather embarrassed-looking gentleman on the front row wearing a silly hat there. That's a certain person at the Romanian graduation. That was a couple of years ago now, the first Romanian graduation. And all these partners, international partners, are really keen to interact and build networks with new students, as well as existing and former students. The program, as I said, is expanding. We expect to start in London and India early next year, and of course, most importantly, Finland. So, that's the background. Now, how does this thing actually work? Well, we have a core guiding principle that we believe our students should be able to provide responsible leadership for a complex world. And that's what we train them for. That's how we develop our students to become these responsible leaders, recognizing that it's a really difficult environment in which to do that. You know, there is no one right way to lead. What we can't do is say, this is how you should do this task, this difficult task of leading organizations in really difficult circumstances. What we can do is say, here are some options. You make an educated choice as to which approach to leadership you take for your circumstances. And we do that, we deliver that through focusing our program on 3 big ideas. First of all, connected thinking. This goes back to what we were saying earlier about systems thinking, recognizing that the world is connected. There's cause and effect to every decision we take. We can't always predict what that effect might be. There is a saying that being a good manager is being right 51% of the time. therefore by default you're wrong 49% of the time if you're a good manager. Well, we hope we can do a little bit better than that, but it makes the point, you know. It's about understanding the risks, understanding the options, and educating ourselves so that we're better able to take appropriate decisions that have known impacts on connected areas. Dealing with complexity and ambiguity, you know, my wife, bless her, has a really annoying saying that I'm sure she does it on purpose now to wind me up. But she say, you know, if we're faced with a problem, she has a habit of saying, the only thing we can do is. And I say, Emma, there's never only one thing that we can do. There are always options. And in a complex, ambiguous, uncertain world, we have to recognize that there are always different roads we can go down. And what we have to do is try to understand the consequences and the risks of each of those and pick the best as best we can. And to lead responsibly, you know, the environment is central to everybody's thinking. It should be central. And you know, taking the right decisions is not just a decision about money. Taking the right decision is about a morally correct course of action. And you know, the evidence supports us with this, that the firms that take an appropriate moral stance, an ethically correct stance, actually perform better financially in the long term. So it's a core idea, one of our 3 big ideas that underpins the programme itself. In a classroom, how do we do that? And with the programmes, how do we do that? Well, we have devised a suite of programmes that are flexible and agile, that can be adapted. We'll talk about pathways in a second. Excuse me. That allow us to develop programmes that can be adapted to suit different needs, but we take that further and we train and help and direct our graduates to be flexible and agile too. They can change when change is required. They can drive change when change is required. One of my interests, I suppose, work-related, is to constantly scour the business press as to what really do businesses want from their MBA students. And top of the list, time and time again, is this ability to think critically. To not accept that the way we've always done things is the way we should do things now. And so we encourage everybody on the MBA programme to develop thinking skills rather than just the knowledge that you can get from essentially a historic record of what management used to be. So we really push the importance of thinking skills and the ability to challenge the status quo over and above the one right way. Sorry, Emma. That's, to do things. And all this, again, it's really encouraging to reinforce the message that is coming out of HAMC and everything you do here. It's everything we teach, excuse me, is applied. It's a real business learning opportunity. Sorry, I hope I haven't brought a cold over to. I'm going to die. Thank you. Thank you. It's clearly a sign that I should hurry up. So the pathways. What we do is we offer a core set of modules that cover everything that you would expect to see in an MBA. This is delivered in 2 halves. Students work their way through 1 half. Best module is obviously this one, because that's mine. And take these modules in a fairly linear sequence. The 2 blue modules are the pathway modules for the general pathway. And then this cohort will be joined halfway through with a new cohort. And so in this module, you have a set of new students working with, networking with, solving problems with a whole new set of colleagues. And that we believe fosters collaboration, it fosters new thinking, new ways of solving problems. And so they then continue as a combined group through the rest of those compulsory modules, the top 4, followed by the pathway modules, the blue ones at the end. And the blue boxes, the blue modules, are the ones that will change with different pathways. Every student at the end of the process gets the opportunity to take a dissertation or a major project. All the assessments are work focused, applied to the workplace, and we encourage them to add real value to their organisations. I'm really sorry. So, as well as the general pathway has already been mentioned, we're offering these 2 here, other pathways that are available around the globe. Not all running as yet, we don't have a market for all of these, but where there is a market, we will launch these when the time's right. On the way, we hope, are some new pathways to do with renewable energy, people analytics, sorry I'm in the way here, and creative industries. That we seem to see a need, the market seems to perceive a need for a slightly different approach in certain areas of these industries. So, those are the pathways. How does this work? Well, it's fundamentally a 2-year programme, 18 months in the classroom, once every 6 weeks, for 3 days, or equivalent of 3 days. And you've got the 6 months for the dissertation at the end of the face-to-face taught sessions. We have a starting point every 9 months, as you will have realised, and we have block teaching. So that means we have, in the UK at least, we have a 3-day tuition block, full days, busy days, but fun. Students enjoy the experience, and there is a certain amount of online teaching. So in the week before and the week after, there are compulsory online exercises, webinars, discussions, etc. that have to take place. And we make a big deal out of the opportunity to network internationally as well as within your own cohort. We network globally through the Alumni network, and we offer additional training, for example, in coaching and mentoring, which we see as a vital part of a leader's skills. And this word community, it's bandied around, it's used a lot. But we're really committed to creating a global community of leaders and managers who are share our values, the same as Hank does, that are committed to a responsible future of leadership that is for the common good, not just the good of the individual and that organisation's bank balance. So what do you need to get onto the course? Well, nothing too unexpected there, I don't think. Perhaps the slightly unusual feature is that we do have a route into the programme for people that don't have a first degree, an undergraduate degree. They have to produce a portfolio of evidence of practice at senior management level of 8 years plus. So, an inclusive programme, I think you'll agree. How's that work? Well, thankfully, we have an online process as well as a paper process. I'm sure Marina will be helping students through that process, as will Paula. Yeah, that's a very definite nod there. We have a telephone or Skype interview with the programme director or myself if he's busy. We also like to do it what we call a skills scan, which is basically getting applicants to reflect on what they already know and where they recognise they can bring a resource to the classroom, but where they recognise they need development. And that's actually quite important because there is I think a misconception that leaders need to be the ones with all the answers. They need to know, be perceived by their followers that they have the right answers. Well, we need to break that misconception because we can all learn and we all continue to learn. We all bring specialisms, we all bring something to the classroom, and that networking opportunity, that sharing of your own knowledge is a really important part of the MBA experience. But recognising that you still have something to learn is equally important, and that skills scan does that. So we're nearly ready for the audience participation part of the show. The MBA, in summary, is a part-time programme. The executive suggesting, as it should, that all our participants are in full-time work. It's a part-time programme. It's a really high-quality programme, recognised globally and internationally credible, designed to be applied to add value in the workplace and to fit with typical workplace practices. So with that, what I'd like you to do, it doesn't actually show particularly well there. Is the IT? Okay, I can probably do this. Or not. So this is the bit where, I mean, by all means, if you've got questions, as long as they don't require a long answer, I'm quite happy to take them now. Or you can use our bit of technology here, Mentimeter. If you take your smartphones, go to menti.com, and when you get there, it will ask you for a code, and that code is 782075. Put that in, and you can type in your questions without the embarrassment of putting your hand up and asking. So, we've got lots of thumbs up, but we haven't actually got any questions. Isn't it? Isn't it? Well, that's not the best of starts then, is it? Is it? Shall we just pretend that, that you've typed them in? What are your questions? Are there any questions? Is that not a question? You're still connected. Hang on. Try refreshing.
Yeah, it works.
It works now, hooray. So, okay, I'll tell you what. How long is the MBA training? That's was that a real question? Or is that one of mine? It's about 2 years. The idea is you're taught face-to-face. Sessions last for about 18 months, and then there's 6 months in which to complete your dissertation. It can take longer. You're allowed to defer. Can I mark that as answered? Make sure it works. It's working. That's not a question. How much does it cost? Someone's got straight to the point. 18,000 euros is where we're starting with this, which we believe is very competitive for the market, but still recognises the amount of value that we believe we can add, I think. Fees, same question. Oh, I'm pleased, yes. Every MBA cohort have the opportunity to have at least 2 modules that they can take in with either with ourselves or with another partner. Now they have to pay their own flights and accommodation, but there's no extra tuition cost. You could join in with a cohort in Hong Kong, Romania, Hull, India, very, very soon, hopefully. Am I allowed to say Athens? Possibly Dubai, hopefully Boston, and a number of new partners that are coming online within the next year, 18 months or so, we hope. We are also starting a summer school in Hull, where we will be inviting students from current and past cohorts, as well as people interested in joining an MBA, to come to Hull, spend a few days with us there. There'll be talk sessions in the morning, and there'll be industry visits in the afternoon. And as you know, this comes with a caveat that we have to, so long as there is sufficient demand for that, we're certainly planning for that to happen next summer. So you can, it's not a credit bearing, it's not a compulsory part of the programme, but if people want to do that, that would be really great to build on the networking opportunities. Thanks for asking that one. I'd nearly forgotten to mention it. Can I pay in instalments? Yes, is the short answer. I think, is it 3 instalments is what we'd expect the programme to operate under. How many MBA students have we got altogether? Currently on programme, it's about 200, 250, something like that. There are, I mean, over the years, there are thousands. I wouldn't like to guess precisely, but it's, you know, with 30 years experience in many, many locations, there's a lot of Hull former students out there. And through the alumni site, there is an opportunity for them to interact with you, for you to ask them questions. There's an opportunity for them to offer help, for you to look for business partners. So it's really quite an important part, we think, of the value that is added by being on the programme. How is teaching arranged on the hand course? Well, it will follow that same pattern. We believe, I mean, there is an option to have it on any 3 days of the week. They do need to be consecutive days, but it's not, you know, the expectation tends to be that it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday that the programme runs 9 to 5. But that's flexible to suit all parties, really. Excuse me. So some details about technology pathway. Well, technology is not actually my specialist area, but I can tell you what the modules are. We include the innovation, creativity, and enterprise module. So within that, it's about idea generation. It's about applying the ideas to a business-focused opportunity, and then, for want of a better word, monetizing that, making it into an enterprise, into a real business. So that's the first module. We then have infrastructure management. So it's dealing with the way in which you source and manage infrastructure that supports IT. We have enterprise systems and business intelligence. The honest answer is I'm not really sure what that is. But certainly the last one is cybersecurity and organisational resilience, dealing with the major issue of cyber attacks and the emergency systems that you have to have in place for those disaster situations when you are suffering from a cyber attack. There are details in the brochure, so if anybody wants any more details, please, there's a pile of those at the front. Please feel free to take one with more detail about all the pathways that we're currently operating. Okay. Examples of dissertations. Off the top of my head, we had certainly one of our students did a project on systems thinking. This was with a local oil processing distribution firm, RICS, and the student did a project on introducing systems thinking into a particular part of that business, and as a result, systems thinking, that idea that all systems are interconnected, linked to each other, have consequences for each other, recognizing that complex set of connections resulted in a significant increase in the profitability of the firm, of that division of RICS Oils. Other ones, what else have we had? I mean, we get quite a lot of projects looking at improving particular aspects of decision making. One that springs to mind was to do with how new products were brought to market in a Romanian bank. Bank of Transylvania, we have a lot of students from, but they felt they were too slow at getting new ideas to market. And so this student looked at how that might be made more efficient. That's probably, I mean, two examples, one fairly systems-based, the other, I suppose, about the softer skills, one hard skills, one soft skills. So I'll move on from there. ECTS, yes, is the answer to that question. Each module is 10 UK higher education credits, 5 ECTS. And then the dissertation is 60 UK higher education credits, 30 ECTS. Work experience is really important. We talk about leadership experience. Now, that doesn't have to mean necessarily that you've had the title leader. We've all led at some point in our lives, we might not realize it. So it's really about appropriate experience. You might have led a project, you might be in a team where leadership responsibility shifts around the group. So, in a lot of cases it is, you've been a head of department, or leader of a division, or the leader of a number of divisions. And we have the full range of students in the past, from very senior in large organizations down to startups. But if they've had, and they can evidence that they have had that decision-making responsibility, then we are happy to take them. And that's evidenced by, if they've, when we look at the interview process, and it's that all that information is requested on that application form and then discussed within the interview. Okay. Oh, we got to the end of that one. just about. So thank you for that. There's, I think now probably is a good time to break. By all means, if anybody else has any other questions or forgot their smart device and so couldn't ask a question, please feel free to come up and have a chat at the end of today's speeches. So with that, thank you very much, and I'll hand back to our MC for now.